idle rumours, isn't it, of gossiping.
Yeah, but you were all out on the town. Is that right? It's not the kind of behaviour I expect from you.
Jack went on a mad one.
No, I didn't. One of the team was leaving, and so we went out for a glass. And in my case, it was literally a glass of wine.
A large tumbler.
I don't drink, you see. So I had a couple of sips, and for me, that was my sort of yearly quota.
Well, you don't serve wine in a tumbler normally. That's all I'd say.
He also stepped to the side
standards,
and kind of it jumped out the cup. So I don't think you even had a full glass because.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know me. I'm a little bit theatrical every now and then, and I got quite into the dialogue and forgot that there was a cup of liquid in my hand. So
anyway, we're just getting into the confessional vibe. Yours is pretty mild and inoffensive one, as opposed to this one, which comes from Jezza. So Jezza, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much for this confession. Now, if you have a confession, it would be lovely to hear from you. confessions@scalaradio.co.uk. In the booth, we have Judge Jody, we have Judge Mark and Judge Jack. And all I'm saying is, if you are at the moment cooking or indulging in any kind of food, you might just want to put it down and step away.
No. I like these ones.
Looking forward to it already.
Okay, Jezza says, Simon, perhaps your team might consider whether I can get forgiveness for this. Back in the early 80s, I worked for a large national company when we were sent to Oxford for a course on the up-and-coming computer systems that we were going to be using in the future. There were many of us on this course, including my boss, who had a brand new car that he'd driven up to Oxford in. Len was very proud of this car, the first that he'd ever bought from new, and it was some sort of Ford Gear thing. So it was fast, comfortable, and not cheap, and it was his and his wife's pride and joy. I don't really know. It's not going to emerge very well from this story, this particular Ford Gear. Well, the course went well, intense but fun, and being all blokes together, and it being the early 80s, the evenings were mainly alcohol-fuelled. On the last night, so exactly the kind of evening that
Jack all over again.
Water.
On the last night, we all decided to go to Burford in the evening, a bit of a drive away, so a minibus was laid on for the journey. Len, though, wanted to show off his car, so elected to drive some of us to Burford as well. Burford in those days was a pretty little place, basically a single road that went down to the River Windrush at the bottom, but the joy of the road was that there were loads of pubs. Some proper pubs, some just small and cosy watering holes. The plan was to be dropped off and start at the top of the road, and over the course of the evening work our way to the bottom of the road, get picked up by the minibus, and then back to our accommodation. The evening went well. We all got very merry, just like Jack.
Were they there?
That's what it says.
That's a very recent confession.
Len stayed sober. Some got more merry than others, me included. In fact, I was pretty merry. So when it came to returning at the end of the evening, we got back into the bus or Len's car. I was sitting in the front passenger seat of his lovely new car, and the journey home started really well. Are you ahead of me? Anyway, there were lots of laughs and everyone was very jolly. Later, I started to feel less jolly. In fact, I started to feel a little queasy. Len noticed this. He'd noticed that I'd gone quiet. He warned me not to be ill in the car. Anyway, the journey continued. I felt worse, and I felt worse. I was warned again not to be ill in the car, and then it was too late. I told Len to stop, but before he did, I wasn't well all over the dashboard.
Oh, no.
Now, obviously, Len went mad. We all roared with laughter. Well, Len didn't. He was desperately trying to clean it all up. In fairness to me, I was cleaning it up too, says Jezza. Well, the following day, all of us were a little bit hungover. I tried to placate Len, and I paid Len to get his car. Would we say valeted or valeted? What would we...
Valeted.
Valid?
No,
No?
valeted.
I go valeted.
Valid is when they drive it off at a hotel.
Yeah,
Is that a
maybe I
euphemism?
just
They
don't
drove it
know
off.
the
Did it come
word.
back?
I paid Len to get his car professionally cleaned. I went home and I thought very little about the incident. It was just one of those things. Thing is, it wasn't over. Len did get it valeted and valeted and professionally cleaned, and all was fine, and peace was restored. Len's wife was talking to him again, and I wasn't in the doghouse, not very much. The incident became a bit of a drinking legend until Len went to use the air blowers in his car.
Oh, no.
It was a few weeks later.
Oh, no.
It appeared when I wasn't well that some of it had gone into the air-blowing system. And when the air was switched on, small dry particles blew gracefully into the car.
Oh.
Later we discovered no matter how much cleaning and spraying or washing it took, there was no removal of the smell of me not being well. Whenever the air blows were switched on, the car would fill up with not so fresh air. Poor Len, there was no cleaning of the car that would actually do the job. So after a while, he had to sell it. His pride and joy was ruined for him by me and my recklessness. Always drink responsibly. I just added that in case.
Nice. Yeah.
Well done,
Good.
Simon.
Always working
Good
with
message.
it. I admit I still smile about the whole thing, but equally I do feel quite guilty too. Tell me, Simon, am I worthy of forgiveness? Well, it's a very interesting story. Jezza, thank you very much indeed. Let's find out whether you get forgiveness from Judge Jodie, first of all, who'd never do this kind of thing.
Never. I thought it was going to be forgivable, Jezza, but then there was more, and I personally don't think that is forgivable. The waft of unwellness.
It's the little particles, little dry particles.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And I think, to be fair, your boss should have stopped the car. Len should have stopped the car and let you be unwell outside the door, and he didn't. So, but no, not forgivable. Sorry.
Judge Mark.
I have to forgive. I mean, he
What?
Clearly, Len could see what was going on and elected to carry on driving. I mean, it's a horrible thought. I spilt milk in a car once, and it just smelt like that forever. So I can imagine what this must have been like. Ugh. But no, he was forewarned, and yet he continued to drive. Forgiven.
Judge Jack.
I think he should have just bought a scented candle. Why give the car away?
No,
or air
you can't have a
fresheners.
scented candle in the
Well, I
car.
suppose in the
Can
car.
you
I mean,
drive?
it was a different era. Come on. I mean,
Oh, yes,
you
car
need an air
fires were 10 a
freshener.
penny in
The
those
thing
days.
is, in confessions, I'm always accused of being too forgiving. As Jodie always says, I've forgiven everybody
He
that
is.
we've ever come
Last
in
week
on.
he forgave-
And then you call me a pushover. Simon.
So you did forgive or not?
I forgive.
You do.
Oh my gosh.
I can forgive.
Well, it's a very interesting tale. We'll find out whether the Scala works, forgive or not, and you can text to 64100, first word is Scala. You can email simon@scalaradio.co.uk. And if you have a confession of your own, and let's face it, I think you probably do, it's confessions@scalaradio.co.uk.